Hey guys, I'm back with a new video. In this video, we'll start to learn about functions in Python. So let us answer the question, what are functions? Now till now, whatever functions we were using were the built-in functions which provide some utilities outside the box to us, like input function for taking the user input, the print function for printing the message to our console, and more. But we can also define our own functions, so let us learn about functions in great depth in this video. So a function is a piece of code that wraps a certain logic and is supposed to perform a specific task. It can then be invoked by referring to the name of the function and then using parentheses to run the function. Each such function can be executed multiple times as and when required. Now to define a function, we can make use of the def keyword. So let us switch back to our editor and learn about functions. So I'm back in my editor. So let us learn about the syntax of functions. So I'll leave a comment here. Functions. So we can use the def keyword and some name of your function and then a parenthesis and colon, and then to define the scope you press enter. So now you are within the scope of the function. So this is the syntax for functions. Now this defines a new scope for the function within which you will define the code for your function. So let us define a normal function and I will name it as subscribe. So def subscribe and put a colon, press enter, and then I will print a statement, you are subscribed to the channel. Now in order to invoke the function, you just need to use the name of the function and then use the parenthesis to run the function. So I will say subscribe and a pair of invocation parentheses and then run the file. So you can see we are getting the message logged to our terminal, you are subscribed to the channel. Now you can also pass data to a function through something called as function parameters. You can pass any number of parameters to the function and it is within the parentheses that the function will receive the data. The function will receive the data within this parenthesis if you pass some data to it. So you can pass any number of parameters to it while invoking the function. So let us define a simple calculator to understand the concept of functions with parameters. So I will say functions with parameters. So I will define a function and I will name it as calculator, and this will receive three arguments. So a number, then the operation that you want to perform. So I will use the operator as the parameter name, and then the second number. So we have the operands and the operator with us, and then we will check what is the operator. So I will use the if conditional and check if my operator is plus, I will print number 1 plus number 2. If operator is minus, I will print number 1 minus number 2. And let us copy this a couple of times and paste it down below. So if operator is multiplication, then you will print number 1 multiplied with number 2, and then else if operator is slash, then you will print number 1 divided by number 2. Else if operator is the modulus operator, then you will print number 1 modulus number 2, which will return us the remainder when number 1 is divided by number 2. And then if the operator is the exponentiation operator, which is double asterisk, I will say number 1 raised to the power of number 2. And finally, if the operator doesn't matches any of these conditions, I can say invalid operator. So now to invoke the calculator function, I can say calculator, I will pass a number 9 and I will use the modulus operator and pass the second operand as 2, and let us run the file. And you can see we are getting 1 as the output, because when you divide 9 by 2, you get a remainder of 1. Now moving forward, the functions can also return values. So instead of printing the values to our console, we can return the result and capture that result in some variable, and then we can print it to the terminal. So let us make some changes to our calculator function. Right here what I will do is, I will comment the print statements in each and every condition, and I will return the results instead. So number 1 plus number 2, and then number 1 minus number 2, number 1 multiplied with number 2, and here number 1 divided by number 2, number 1 modulus number 2, and finally number 1 exponentiation number 2. And let us comment this out as well, and here we can return a string saying invalid operator. Now I will again invoke the function and store the return result in some variable. So I will say whatever result we get back for this, we can store that in some variable. So I will name the variable as result, and let us change the arguments. So 8 multiplied with 2, and let us print the result to the terminal, and let us run the file. So here you can see we are invoking the function with these arguments. So the check for this runs where the operator is equal to the multiplication operator, and then you return number 1 multiplied with number 2. So you get 8 into 2, which is 16, and that is printed to the terminal. Now let us talk more about parameters or arguments in a bit more detail. We have something called as asterisk args and double asterisk keyword args. So, or you can say arguments and keyword arguments, asterisk args and double asterisk keyword args. Suppose you have to write a function, but you don't know beforehand how many arguments are required into your function. You can add an asterisk right before the parameter name in the function definition. And what it will do is, it converts the passed arguments into a tuple of arguments, and then you can access individual parameters inside the function using indexing. So let us define a function to understand this. So I'll make a function and I will name it as subscription. So subscription, and I will say asterisk args. So here you can see we are putting the asterisk symbol right before the parameter name, which is args. Now the problem here is that we don't know how many arguments are passed to the function by the caller of the function. So let us first try to print the args to the terminal, and let us try to invoke the function. So I will invoke the function and I will pass some bunch of arguments to it. So I will say xyz subscribed to the channel, and now let us run the file. So here you can see that we are getting a tuple of arguments. Now to find the number of arguments that were passed to the function, and we can make use of the built-in function of Python, which is len here. So I will say I'll wrap this around len and run the file. So here you can see we are getting 5 arguments that were passed to the function. So now we know that our function was passed 5 arguments when it was invoked, and in order to access them we can simply make use of indexing. So I will say, so let me comment this out and print args0 plus, and I will concatenate that with args1, then args2, then I will concatenate that with args3, and finally the 5th argument, which is args4. And if I run the file now, and now you can see we joined the individual parts or individual arguments that we passed to the function to form a sentence xyz subscribe to the channel. So the takeaway from this is that if the number of arguments is not known to you, just add an asterisk right before the parameter name. Now then we have something called as the keyword arguments. So keyword argument is just like a key value pair with the key having a value. Now suppose you are again writing a function and you don't know how many keyword arguments will be passed into your function, because it is possible that you may have to pass more arguments at some later point of time depending upon the logic of the code that you write in the function. So what you can do is you can add double asterisk right before the parameter name in the function definition, and this will ensure that your function receives a dictionary of arguments, and then you can access the items of the dictionary in the same way as we covered in the video on dictionary. So let us understand this by writing a function. So concept of keyword args arguments, and keyword arguments are something like this. Suppose you have a named key and then you can pass on some value for that. So say nerdy. This is your keyword argument, and this will get converted to a dictionary when you use double asterisk keyword args. Okay. So I will define a function, and this will take on a name as the first parameter, then asterisk args and double asterisk keyword args, which will take such keyword arguments of the form this. Okay, so if we pass parameters of this form to this function, then it will be passed to keyword args, and internally it gets converted to a dictionary, which I will show you in just a minute. So now let us print the name argument that we will receive once the function gets invoked. So name. Before writing the code further for this function, let us write the invocation for this. So I will say do something and then use the invocation parenthesis. Then I will pass the first argument, which is the name. So I will say the world of nerds. And for second argument, I will be passing a list, which will go to our asterisk args. So I will say programming is easy, and I will pass one more argument. So this will also go to asterisk args, which I will show you in just a minute. I am a useless argument, and then let us define our keyword arguments, which will go to double asterisk keyword args. Once the function is invoked, it will get passed into this. The keyword arguments will get passed into this. So game, and set a value for this. So this is your keyword argument, Counter Strike. And let us define one more keyword argument. Rating is set to 5 and is favorite, set that to true. And now let us run the file. So you can see we are getting the name successfully logged to our terminal, which is the world of nerds. Let us complete the function now. Now inside the function, we will receive arguments in between here, because we know that it is a list of strings and then a string separately passed. So if I print the arguments to the terminal and run the file, so you can see here we are getting a tuple. So the arguments that we are passing right here are converted to a tuple of arguments using this asterisk right before the arguments. And you can see we are getting a tuple in which the first element is your list. So this is args of 0. And then we have our string, which is I am useless argument, which is args1. And if I print the first element of this tuple, so you should get the list now. Run the file. So we are getting the first argument of our tuple, which is asterisk args. So now we know that the first argument of the asterisk args is a list, so we can iterate over that. So let us do that and form a sentence using it. So let me define a variable and set that to empty string, and then I will say for word in args0, I will say sentence plus equal to, so I will concatenate each word of our list into the sentence, or each element of the list into the sentence to form a string. I will give some space here, and then we'll concatenate the word to form a sentence. So once the loop is done, we will get the complete sentence and we can print that to a terminal. So run the file. So you can see all the elements that we were having in the list were concatenated one by one, and you got programming is easy. Okay, at line number 396. So here we are using the concept of arguments, as you can see. Now let us print the second argument. So I will say print args1 and let us run the file. So now you can see we are getting the second argument, which is I am a useless argument, which is this one. And this was the second argument of our tuple that we got from asterisk args when we passed these two things into our second argument of the do something function. These two arguments got converted to a tuple represented by asterisk args, and then you are able to use them here. As you can see, we are invoking the function with the keyword arguments as well. So we have 3 keyword arguments. First is game, second one is rating, and third one is his favorite. So if we pass them to our function, which is do something, we will receive them right here in keyword args. And what it will do is it will convert the keyword arguments to a dictionary of these arguments. So each keyword will get converted to a key value pair, and you can work with that inside the scope of this function. So let me show you this. I will print the keyword args to the terminal and run the file. So now you can see all the keyword arguments that you passed to your function got converted to a dictionary of key value pairs corresponding to these keywords: game, rating, and is favorite. Now to iterate over the key value pairs, we can use the for loop, which we covered in the iteration video where I showed you how you can iterate over a dictionary. So I will say for game prop, which is a game property, which is basically the key of your key value pair and the value pertaining to that key. So game prop and game value in the keyword args dot items. So we want to access the complete key value pair, and then I can print game prop and game value to the terminal. So now let us run the file and you can see the results right here. So on iterating over the dictionary that got formed using these keyword arguments, you are getting game as Counter-Strike, rating as 5, and is favorite as true. Now lastly, there is one more thing that I want to cover in this video, and that is the pass statement in Python. Now many times what happens is that you want to write a function, but you don't know what exactly you want to achieve writing that function. In that case, you can just write the function and writing absolutely nothing in that but just a pass statement, indicating that this function does nothing as of now and will be given some implementation logic at some later point of time. So writing a pass statement is important in that case, otherwise it will error out when you run that function. So I will say pass statement. So let's define a dummy function, def complex function, and here I will just write pass, and let us invoke the function by saying some complex function, invoke it and run the file. And you can see we are getting nothing in the terminal, but now you know that the implementation for this function is pending, and you can define that later by coming at that respective line, which is 406, and write the required logic or the code for that. And now if I omit the pass statement and run the file, you can see we are getting an error, and it says indentation error, expected an indented block. You are not defining any piece of code within the function. So you are not defining any scope, and as such you don't have any indentation which defines the scope, so you are getting the error. So this was all about the introductory video on functions, where we discussed how to define a function, how to work with an unknown number of arguments using asterisk args, and how to work with an unknown number of keyword arguments, which is double asterisk keyword args, that you are passing here in form of keyword arguments, and how we can make use of the pass statement. So if you like the video, do give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for all the upcoming uploads, and I will see you guys in the very next video.